We are back. We are starting another new series. I'm so excited for you guys to hear, see, and come along with us with this thing. I'm super excited about it. So it's going to be called Can You Trust? And then whoever we're talking about that day. So the whole crux of the series is we're going to be taking celebrity cookbooks, so people who aren't traditional chefs, people who don't have traditional kitchen experience, and we're going to be taking their cookbooks and we're going to be making a recipe out of the cookbook and seeing if it's chef approved, seeing if they know what they're talking about, seeing if we can corroborate what they are trying to say in their cookbook. So we're going to be doing quite a few people. There's quite a few celebrities out there who think they can cook. So we're gonna put it to the test, and we're gonna see if they can cook. So let's get started. Our first celebrity for the first episode of the Can You Trust series is the Queen of Shiplap, the Queen of Farmhouse, a star on Fixer Upper. I'm sure you all know who I'm talking about. None other than Miss Joanna Gaines. We will be cooking out of her first cookbook, Magnolia Table, and seeing what she's got for us. I mean, she's definitely shown through some episodes of the show that she has some pretty decent culinary chops, but I think it's going to be fun to see what she's doing. I know they've opened a few restaurants now. They have a bakery, they have a like a diner spot, which is really cool. I've been dying to go down there. But we're going to dive in. We're going to see what we're going to do today. So we have picked that we are going to make one of her recipes in here that sounded interesting, different than what I think she would do normally. It's called Mom's Bulgogi with a cucumber kimchi salad. So I have the book here on the stand. I have my ingredients all portioned out over here to the side. So I'm just gonna go through it real time and we're gonna see how this goes. So I have my mixing bowl here. It is quite large just because I wanna make sure that the beef has enough room to really interact with everything in there, because it does need to marinate for a little bit. So I'm going to start with my light brown sugar. Again, 3 cups of light brown sugar into my bowl. And then we're going to do the soy sauce, which is 1.5 cups of soy sauce right into the brown sugar. And then we're going to do our 5 tablespoons of our sparkling dessert wine, which I haven't opened yet, but as you can see, it's the exact one she calls for in the recipe. We're going to go in with, what does it say? She says to use 5 tablespoons of this sparkling dessert wine. So I'm gonna do, it smells good already. After the sesame oil, we're gonna do 2 green onions chopped. So I'm gonna set this aside, and she says to chop both the light and dark green, so everything, the whole thing. Of course, you do wanna chop off the ends here, those little bits you can't eat, but I'm just gonna go through and chop all of the scallions. So just a rough chop. She doesn't really specify size or anything like that, so I'm just going to assume that it's just a rough chop like that. So I'm going to go ahead and toss that into my bowl. And then she calls for 2 garlic cloves chopped. So I have my garlic cloves here. I'm just going to go ahead and peel them very quickly. So I'm just going to go relatively small because I know I don't want a huge piece of garlic anywhere, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it and keep it relatively rough. So far we have everything up to the garlic, and the only last thing we need is some black pepper. So it's just about 1 teaspoon of black pepper. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and whisk this together. We're gonna get our thinly sliced beef into here, and then we're gonna stick it in the fridge, do some TV magic, and 4 hours later, it'll be marinated. With all that brown sugar we put in, it's definitely on the thicker side. All right, so I'm gonna grab my beef. Like she said, just some thin sliced ribeye. So as you can see, thin sliced ribeye. It almost just looks like deli meat. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put all of that into here, and I'm gonna be sure to separate each slice as it goes in. So as long as you have enough marinade in there to really fully cover the beef, which is what she says in here, then you should be all right. All right, so our beef is marinating, covered in the fridge, sitting. Again, that has to go for just about 4 or 5 hours, is what she says in the book. And then it also is served with a cucumber kimchi salad, which we're about to start, and then some steamed white rice as well. She doesn't give a recipe for the white rice, so I'm just gonna follow it relatively traditional ratio that I have, which I'll share with you as we get to that point. But for the most part, just kind of follow whatever works best for you. She has hers garnished with thinly sliced green onions and some sesame seeds, so that's where it'll vary just a little bit. We are doing the cucumber kimchi salad now, the side, the accoutrement, if you will, for her bulgogi. So like we just did for the marinade, I'm just gonna follow right through and we're gonna see how it goes. So she says 2 English cucumbers, peeled if desired, cut into half-inch dice. I don't desire to peel my cucumbers, so I'm not gonna do it. I like them to have a little bit of bite. So what I'm gonna do is just cut these in half again, maybe one more time, just to make it as easy as possible. Cucumbers are in. What does it say next? 2 green onions, thinly sliced on the diagonal, so sliced on a bias. And it says the whole thing again. So I'm gonna do the whole thing. But on a bias is important, so what I like to do is just keep the green onions straight on the cutting board like this, and then put my knife on the bias because it's a little bit easier to control. So those are going in with the cucumbers. I need to do one more. So green onions are in, what's next? 2 garlic cloves minced. You see, she says minced this time for the garlic. I'm assuming because since kimchi is like a type of like a fermented Korean coleslaw kind of, and you eat it raw, that you don't want to bite into like a huge chunk of garlic. I'm gonna basically cut this the same way I did the onion to get a small enough dice out of this, and then I might just run through it one more time with a knife. So I'm just gonna run my knife through it real quick just to make sure that it's minced enough for her. Combine the cucumbers, green onions, garlic, gochugaru. So gochugaru is a Korean red pepper flake. It's like a powdered, a little bit on the coarser side Korean red pepper flake. So she calls for 1 to 2 teaspoons of this gochugaru. So I'm gonna do 2, because I like it to be a little bit on the spicier side. And then she calls for 2 teaspoons of sugar. Just white granulated sugar, nothing crazy. And then 1 teaspoon of rice vinegar. And some sesame oil. 1 teaspoon of sesame oil. Make sure that's all in there. And then it calls for 1 teaspoon, oh no, I don't need those yet. 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. So I'm gonna do 1 whole teaspoon because I want to. Combine all of that, stir it around gently, it says, and then cover and refrigerate until ready to serve. So I'm just gonna stir this around. And then it just says refrigerate until ready to serve. So I'm assuming she doesn't give a timeline for how long it needs to marinate or kind of sit here, but I'm assuming at least, I would say maybe at least an hour, maybe a little bit less. All right, so this is mixed together nicely. We're gonna stick it in the fridge with the beef. All right, so for the steamed white rice, again, she doesn't give a recipe here, so I don't really have anything to go by. I'm just gonna use the ratio that I traditionally use. So I'm gonna be making 2 cups of my white rice. So I just have 2 cups of like traditional sushi rice, so short grain white rice. I rinsed it to get all of the excess starch off, which is very important. You just wanna rinse it until the water runs clear, basically. And then I'm gonna do 2 and like maybe a 1/4 cup of water on top of that. I usually do a 1-to-1 ratio, but recently I've been doing just a little bit more water because I think it gives a better texture and consistency to the rice as it cooks. So I'm gonna go ahead and just, so like I said, since I did 2 cups of rice, I'm gonna do 2 and just like a little bit extra of water. All right. So water's in, rice is in, ready to go. So what you gotta do now is put it on your burner, bring it up to a boil first, and then we're gonna cover it, reduce it, or cover it and then turn the heat down to like a simmer at most. And then we're gonna let that kind of cook and come together for, you know, maybe 15-20 minutes, somewhere in there. It comes up to a boil, and then I'm gonna throw a lid on it, turn the heat all the way down to low, and let that simmer for, you know, 15-20 minutes until it's done cooking. So that's coming up to a boil. And then after that, it's really just a waiting game. I mean, you guys won't be waiting. I'll just snap my fingers and the beef will be marinated, but we need to wait at least 4 hours for the beef to marinate, and then she doesn't really, like I said, she doesn't give the time for the kimchi salad to sit in the fridge. She just says until it's ready to serve. So I'm gonna let it sit for an hour, check on it, because I don't want it to over marinate or like get too seasoned from anything, you know? So I'm gonna check on that in a little bit, and then we'll go from there. So what she calls to do next is to just take it out with some tongs. Don't really get too much residual sauce on there. And then to just sear it on a griddle, in a pan, cast iron, whatever you have will work. Just since we're in our commercial kitchen, it's just easiest for me to use the griddle that we have here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just tong out our pieces of beef right onto the flat top. Try to get it as flat as possible, as even as possible. And then we're just gonna let that sear for just very quickly, because it is very thin sliced. So you don't wanna overcook it. You don't wanna cook it for too long. We're almost there. I'm just gonna let it go for just a little bit longer on the same side that we put it on, because I wanna make sure, like I said, that I get as much kind of like sear and action on that side as I can. So, we made it to the finish line. Looks good, smells great. I'm ready to try. But first we got a plate. So what I'm gonna do is we're just gonna take a little bit of my rice and just lay it down on one corner of my plate. And then she did say to garnish the rice with thinly sliced green scallion and sesame seeds. So, let me do that very quickly. And she says again, for the green scallion, both the light and the dark. So I'm gonna go ahead and just slice it all. All right, so then I'm gonna take some of my scallions and garnish that very nicely. A little salad on top. I'm gonna take my sesame seeds. I'm gonna garnish with some sesame seeds. And she says, serve the bulgogi on top of steamed rice, garnish with green onion and sesame seeds, and spoon the cucumber kimchi salad alongside. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. And then the kimchi salad right on the side. I'm just gonna mix it up one last time. It smells great. All right, so there you have it. And I think I'm gonna put a little bit of sesame seeds on top of my beef to give it some color. And there you have it. Joanna Gaines, Mom's Bulgogi with the cucumber kimchi salad and some steamed white rice on the side. It looks great, it smells great. It doesn't look exactly like the picture that she has here, but we'll talk about that in a second. So let's get tasting. All right, so we are tasting. I have David here with me. All right, so I'm gonna try it first. I'm a little bit biased since I made it myself, but I'm gonna have him try it and see what his thoughts are. How do you think it's gonna taste?
I think it'll taste good. It smells good, but that can always change.
Oh. Okay. I'll hold my thoughts. Get a little bit of that. Get a little bit of cucumber action in there. Oh, going in for seconds. That might mean something.
All right.
Thoughts?
Go ahead.
Okay. It's very good. I like it. I think for me, it has a little bit too much brown sugar. It like tastes a little bit too like sugary, like caramelized for me. But you know, for some that might not be a bad thing. I think I might do, like I said, a little bit less brown sugar and a little bit more like soy sauce maybe. But other than that, I think it's great. I love the cucumber kimchi salad. That's amazing. Would definitely eat that with a lot of other stuff. What about you?
Well, we were talking a lot about the picture and like the meat for it, but her kimchi salad, which is on the side of the photo, doesn't even look like she followed her own recipe
Yeah.
for it.
Now that I'm looking at it.
Like if you if you can see that. Kind of looks like she just chopped up cucumbers and put some seasoning on top.
Because she did say half-inch dice, and that ain't a half-inch dice.
I mean, that you can take, but I mean, we prepared it how she said, and ours looks different than hers.
Different as in better?
Well, the color is even off. Like hers doesn't look like it is covered in the sauce marinade that she says to do. And she doesn't specify on the thickness of the meat, which I think will give everybody a different...
Because her version of thin and our version of thin were two totally different things. Like hers looks like just like a normal thin ribeye steak that she sliced, where ours is more like shaved, I guess, like for a cheesesteak or something.
And this is crispier than hers probably is.
Yeah, I think, and I'm no Bulgogi connoisseur, but I think that ours looks a little bit closer to a traditional Bulgogi. No tea, no shade, all pink lemonade. I think ours might be a little bit better. But that's not to say hers wasn't good. Visually. Taste-wise, I don't know, because I can't taste what she made. But ours tastes pretty good. Like I said, I would dial back the sugar a little bit. But I think it's a success.
I like it. Did she lie about anything?
So, can you trust Joanna Gaines? Can you trust Joanna Gaines?
I think so.
You think so?
I think so.
All right, Joanna. I think we can trust you, girl. So you have gotten the official chef approval here. First episode of the Can You Trust series, and you're already a winner, baby. All right, so that wraps up our first episode of Can You Trust with our celebrity shiplapper, Joanna Gaines. We made her mom's bulgogi with a cucumber kimchi salad. Turned out great. You heard our notes, but at the end of the day, she's chef approved. So yes, you can trust Joanna Gaines. So thank you for joining us. As always, like the video, leave a comment, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell so you are notified every time we upload. We're going to be uploading every single Monday, different videos, vlogs, recipe videos, Can You Trust, all of it, all the good stuff. So thank you again. I look forward to seeing you. Bye-bye.